Hello. Hi, Gray. Could you let me know how the audio is? Can you hear me? Can you hear the game? Thank you for the alert, Kimono. Huzzah! We're here. We are Higurashiing. Let's freaking go. My voice condition is suspicious at best today, so we'll see how far we can get. I seem a little quieter than normal, that's probably why. Here, I lowered my mic so it's closer to my mouth. Is that better? That's better? Okay, cool. Let's go. Too much gossiping with Pero. Maybe. Furude-san and Hojo-san are absent today because they both have colds. The weather is changing, so it's easy to get sick. Make sure you cover yourselves when you go to sleep. Okay? Okay!
Oh, they live together, so I guess they caught it together. Rika-chan is supposed to perform as a shrine maiden on the day of Watanagashi. I hope she'll be okay. I hope.
We're planning to have lots of fun at the festival. I hope they recover by tomorrow somehow. Hey, do you want to go see them on our way home? Maybe we could bring something healthy for them to eat too. We don't need to. By the way, can you two stop by this old man's house today? Mion usually enjoys ideas, like bringing people food when they're sick. For whatever reason, she was a little curt today. Actually, she's been acting a little different since this morning. Even when I talked to her, her thoughts seemed to be somewhere else. Now she's asking Rana and me to stop by at her house.
Your house, Mi-chan? What for?
Well, I need to talk to you about something important. I can't tell you right now, though. Mion seemed calmer than usual, which told me that it was about something very serious. There are always lots of patients running into the clinic just before lunchtime. Because of that, lunchtime at the clinic is always later than normal people's. It's just a short break, though. Our afternoon shift begins right away. The staff were enjoying their break, eating their delivery lunches. They can eat basically anywhere they want, as long as the patients can't see them, and it's not a place we need to keep sterile. Because it's hot and humid, the meeting room with its air conditioner ends up being a popular place. The staff all eat their takeout lunches there. As I'm the director of the clinic, they might feel uncomfortable eating with me around. So I usually eat my lunch in the director's office out of consideration for them. Today I ordered lunch from a soba shop. I got an extra large. An extra large serving of morisoba, that is. For whatever reason, they just call the dish an extra large. That makes ordering it complicated, since if I order an extra large and a kitsune udon, they'll just deliver an extra large kitsune udon instead. But is this really a large? It looks more like a regular size to me. As I recall, the owner of the restaurant has hurt her hip, so she must be having a hard time keeping things running. I was still thinking about that when Takano-san came in. She was carrying a really large size order in her hands. Apparently, she ordered a regular morisoba, and I grabbed the wrong one by mistake. Ah, what a hassle. It's easy to confuse them, isn't it? They should use some kind of mark, you know. I agree. For example, they could put a flag like the one on a kid's meal that says large size. Takano-san must have liked that idea. She laughed for a while. Would you like to join me? I invited her to sit on the sofa. Are you sure? Thank you, but could you turn the air conditioning down just a little? Sure, sorry about that. Here we go. Come to think of it, I haven't really talked too much with her. We were rather distant from each other, partly over the guilt of the organization becoming the Iria Institute. So with that in our respective positions, we had a taciturn agreement to not pry too deeply into each other. Since our attitudes towards our research are different, we've never mingled before. So chatting over lunch is a good way to get closer to her. I wonder what she likes to talk about while eating. I guess I should start a peaceful conversation. I don't want her to go off about something like tapeworms. We're having lunch after all. And while I tried to come up with a topic, she started talking instead. A flag on a kid's meal. That brings back memories. Do you think they still have those flags, though? I don't know. It's one of those things that endure, so it's possible they'll keep having flags on kids' meals even in the far future. Maybe an in-flight kids' meal on a spaceship will have a flag on it. That sounds interesting. I wonder if kids will collect those flags even in the future. Flags? Did you collect them? Oh, didn't you do that when you were a kid? Collect the flags from kids' meals. No way. When I was young, only rich kids could have meals like that. My family couldn't afford it. That's not true. My family was poor, but when we went to the mall, we had our lunch at a restaurant there. At the time, for me to go to a mall meant having a kids' meal. So whenever my parents went to the mall without me, I'd get very upset. Your childhood sounds very happy. But when they went to the mall without me one day, they got into an accident and died. Until I got a call about it, I was really upset with my parents for going to the mall without me, and I was sure they were having a meal there by themselves. As it happened, I only needed one more flag to make my collection complete. Collecting 20 of them was my goal. I was so upset that I couldn't complete my collection. That's awful, huh? It must have been horrible to lose her parents at the age when she was still interested in collecting flags from kids' meals. It's obviously still a painful memory for her. I see. I didn't know. By the way, is that why you became a doctor? Huh? Why? Oh, well, I aim to be a doctor because of reasons involving my family, so I thought the same was true for you too. I earned my medical license because it was necessary to draw closer to the Hinamizawa syndrome. It might be rude to put it this way, but I only obtained my license as a byproduct of pursuing my research. How interesting. Even when she was still at medical school, she already knew about Hinamizawa syndrome. By the way, before I took on this job, I didn't know anything about the syndrome. Where did you find out about it? I was told you read something about it while you were looking into the late Dr. Takano's documents. I'm impressed that you already started to research it while you were at school. Studying took up all of my time when I was a student. That's really incredible. Actually, I became familiar with Hinamizawa syndrome long before that. What does she mean? How old was she when she first found out about the syndrome? In fact, why did she become familiar with it at all? Just like Satoko-chan and Rika-chan, I didn't have any relatives, so I was sent to an orphanage. It was a horrible place. You remember how there was a flood of war orphans back then? I was in a truly awful orphanage built solely to gather up those children and bring in government subsidies. When I escaped from there, I was rescued by my grandfather, Dr. Takano. So you actually lived with Dr. Takano? I see. Now I understand why you were familiar with his research documents at a young age. But why do you keep it a secret? Well, political reasons. It's one thing to request funding for research on a mysterious disease, but it's another thing to request it for a research project of my late grandpa's. I see. Finally, a question is answered. The administration you've shown when discussing Dr. Takano was always more than just respect for a fellow researcher. Still, since you respect him that much, he must have been a wonderful doctor with many genuine virtues. I don't know about genuine virtues. He died alone of an illness with nobody around to understand him. He preferred being alone, which was a bad habit of his. That's why he couldn't find anyone who would support him. Still, he had you for an excellent assistant, didn't he? Speaking of which, your family name is read the same way as his, isn't it? Yes, it's not my real family name. I took my grandfather's out of respect. I actually wanted to write it the same way, but I thought it could get complicated when explaining it to my client, so I ended up using different characters. Now I can see the connection between their two last names. That also revealed the connection between the first names, Hifumi and Mio, too. She doesn't need to tell me anything more than that. She lost her parents when she was young, and Dr. Takano took her in and loved her as if she was his own child. To show her love and respect, she decided to call him her grandfather. Now I know. That's the reason why she's devoted herself to researching Hinamizawa syndrome. I now understand how she must feel, knowing her research is soon to be terminated. Rika-chan had said that she was hurt. Although I didn't know anything about it, I may have said something to hurt her before. I only cared about treatment and extermination, and I didn't care about anything else until today. She must have considered that blasphemous towards her grandfather. Now I know why she became aggressive every time I expressed how I felt. After she was told that her research would be terminated, she stayed up all night and gathered up lots of documents. She went to Tokyo and requested an extension without depending on anyone else, and that request was rejected. The documents she used are now in a box in the underground storage. She must have exerted a lot of effort to put them together. Even someone without any knowledge of our research could easily understand what she was trying to say. However, it looked like some of those documents weren't even opened, and some had marks that told me they weren't treated the way documents are supposed to be. I'm sure some pages had absorbed her tears without me ever knowing. I heard from Tokyo that Takano-san had left a terrible impression with the board of directors. It's not easy to overturn a bad impression. In other words, she can never request an extension on her research ever again. I was there when she found out about it. I was there when she found out that she could no longer continue her grandfather's research, even though she must have promised him that she would complete it. Are you going to continue researching on your own after the Iria Institute shuts down? By the time the Iria Institute closes, the Hinamizawa syndrome would have been eradicated. Should I preserve the pathogen in a petri dish, kidnap someone, and infect them to research it? On my own? Without equipment, funding, or a lab? Should I continue the research, holed up in a study filled with the smell of formalin, and never recognized or acknowledged by anyone, just like my grandfather? Also someone else can ridicule it? What would you have a loser like me, who lacks the youth and energy anymore, do to continue it? Tomitake-san once told me that the Iria Institute was supposed to be the Takano Institute. But our clients didn't like the idea of a young woman heading the facility, and that's why I was invited. That explains why she's been unfriendly since the day we met. It must have been blasphemy to her to see me go on about Hinamizawa syndrome and decide on a research plan according to my values and morals. To Takano, the syndrome is her grandfather. She must feel his presence when she's researching it. That's the reason why she often stays at the Institute until late at night, though it makes the mountain dogs annoyed as they serve as security here. Would you like to drink some of the soba broth? Yes, please. Her shoulders looked fragile to me for the first time, and now I'm sure of Rika-chan's story. Takano-san holds an indescribable sadness within her, and if someone approached her, pretending to understand, she just might fall for it. Because of my position, anything I say to her will only hurt her more, probably. Sometimes, words can harm people no matter how they're used, but the fact that I still spoke up showed how little experience I had in my life. We could, at least, give the research you'd like to pursue a little more of our future budget. We managed to gain another 3 years from them at least, so we can give those 3 years our best. It was all a slip. Even as I spoke, I started to regret trying to say anything. I appreciate the sentiment, but it's even harder to watch someone fall ill and waste away over 3 long years. If I remembered right, Dr. Takano came down with acute dementia and chose to commit suicide while his mind was still functional out of despair at his inability to continue his research further. My verbal slip had made her remember a painful memory and hurt her even more. He went into a coma, and I had to make a decision as to whether to turn off his life support or not. Hey, Director Irie, if you were the doctor in charge of that patient, who would you have pull the plug? You wouldn't pull the plug yourself, would you? Takano-san asked me that as if it was a normal question. She's only expecting to hear one answer. If I was put into that position, then when the time came, I'd probably let his remaining family do it. That's what I thought. There's no way someone wouldn't be there for their family's final moments. So I will be here for the final moments of the Hinamizawa syndrome, no matter what. Someone knocked on the door, and I heard the voice of one of the other staff members. Director, afternoon shifts are beginning. Please get ready. Oh, okay. I'll be right there. I'll clean up. Why don't you go? Lots of elderly people are waiting to chit-chat with you. Takano-san laughed. but I knew that that laugh was trying to conceal her anguish. I'm not close to her personally, but she is my partner here at the clinic. I've been trying to avoid getting close to her, but maybe that was a mistake. If I had listened to her more, maybe I could have eased her pain a little, but it's too late. Tomitake-san is conducting an investigation to prove her innocence. Is she guilty or not? Either way, her heartache remains. After Irie left, Takano sat down on the sofa again and stared at nothing for a while. Then she got up and picked up the phone on the desk. This is Takano. Is Okonogi there? It's me. I was going to ask you to start on the 20th, but please begin observing R today instead. Eh? What difference does it make? Or are you going to tell me that it's too hot to start today? Yes, please do. We only have 5 days. You'd better be careful. More than careful, okay? Yeah, all right. Okay, goodbye. Okonogi put down the phone and sighed. Although it's his job to do whatever Takano wants, he couldn't help but complain about getting such a short order on an extremely hot day. Of course, if he complained, Takano would spit back twice as much reproach. Okonogi was sitting in the office of Okonogi Gardeners, a dummy company. As it happened, they regularly did gardening in Hinamizawa, if only so that nobody would get suspicious to see their uniforms and van around. Good grief. I give up. Call in Nightingale and Skylark. Their vacations are cancelled. The princess has given us the order to start observing R today. We'll have to move the schedule up by 3 days. The first day was Heron, right? Go with a group of 4, including 1 telephone observer, 1 telephone backup, 1 residence lookout, and 1 residence backup. Heron leader, you'll be at the command post. Also, we're stepping up our sabotage of the telephone station, too. That would have been Nightingale's job, but it'll take a whole day for them to get here. So we'll use Phoenix instead. Phoenix 7, gather up a construction team and finish by tonight. Can you do it? Of course. My men are well trained. The Mountain Dogs are different from a regular battle unit. They're a technical squad formed from specialists in different fields of espionage. They were covert operatives for sabotaging cell phone stations like Okonogi just ordered, ones for wiretapping, intelligence gathering, information manipulation, establishing networks in public institutions, and many others in various specialized fields. They belong to the Self-Defense Force. Some are from fire departments, some are from police departments, and some are civil engineers. Of course, they have some experts in combat as well. Okonogi is one of those combat experts, and he didn't expect too much from the engineers. While they had all gone through the same basic training, what they were capable of was child's play compared to what an expert can do. Okonogi is the leader of a unit made up mostly of members who can't even do 100 push-ups. Really, that was the only complaint he had. He'd rather have been put in charge of the Bloodhounds, but somehow he became the leader of this strange unit. Maybe because of his cautious yet courageous personality. Since combat was his expertise, Okonogi wished deeply for combat. During the kidnapping incident 5 years ago, the plan was for the resisting criminals to leave the hostage behind on the scene and run after the police stormed in. He recalled the extremely frustrating memory of his combat with that plainclothes officer. That fat old man was acting so arrogantly, but he could have taken him within a matter of seconds. He could have just broken his neck. He could have turned him around and snap. It would have been so easy for him. He remembered a young policeman too. He shot him in his shoulder, but he could have shot at his ear. He was told to go easy on them, so that was the best he could do. He'd thought of firing a second shot, but there just wasn't time, so the last shot he fired was that reluctant one. Okonogi couldn't believe that such a pathetic battle was his last combat job. Regardless, he had continued to train so that he was ready at any time. Now that the operation had begun, he was hoping there would be a battle for him to fight. He didn't even need to fire a shot. He didn't even need to punch anyone. All Okonogi wanted was a battle that satisfied his pride. Nothing more. Yes, one moment, please. Commander, there's a phone call for you. I don't know if it's for the commander or the president, though. He's also the president of Okonogi Gardeners. Because of that, the members of the Mountain Dogs often called him that. Just a minute. I'll get my accent back. What? Really? How about that, huh? And who is it anyway? It's a woman. She says her name is Nomura. She's asking for President Okonogi. Then that's for the commander. I'll take it in my office. Please transfer it over. Rattle, rattle, crash! I heard a noise which sounded like many buckets crashing down. It's probably a noise from one of Satoko-chan's traps. According to her trap map, anyone going near the wiretapping shack will set off a trap that makes a loud noise. That must have been it just now. I scouted around the shack last night before the girls left. The shack is very secluded, and it's located in a blind spot where nobody's likely to go. So this noise means something important. It means they've started their observation of Rika-chan. I can't let them notice the girls aren't home. They'll definitely call and come by to confirm that they're here. So I have to make sure that they think the girls are sick in bed and that they don't hear the phone or the doorbell. The curtains are closed, so they can't see what's inside the house. But to be certain, their beds are stuffed to make it look like they're sleeping. However, I have to be even more careful from now on. I can't let them notice that I'm staying here. For that matter, I have to make sure that I can act when something happens. The phone rang suddenly. Just as I expected. They're calling to see if anyone's home. They're already aware that they didn't go to school, so they're probably assuming that they're home, sick in bed. I'm sure they want proof of that. The phone rang for a long time, which convinced me that this was indeed a call from the Mountain Dogs. If there was no answer on the phone, then the next step would be to come by the house. They'll pretend to be a mailman or a neighbor and knock on the door. But I don't even need to answer it. If the girls are too sick to answer the phone, then they won't notice a knock on the door either. The increased hassle means a higher risk of discovery, but on the other hand, it also proves our enemy is closing in on us. It was actually better for me, since I could measure the severity of the situation. Besides, Irie is our ally, and he already knows Rika-chan is somewhere else. He's supposed to tell them that he came by because he heard Rika-chan and Satoko-chan miss school, and that the two of them were in bed and should be left alone for a while. He's supposed to say that. They won't doubt Irie. They'll believe him. You could call this an advanced level of mutual deceit. They believe that they're deceiving Irie, but in reality, Irie is deceiving them. However, they're professionals, and we're a bunch of amateurs. Well, not me at least. Actually, maybe I'm not an exception. I don't know what they've got until I come face to face with them. Our conditions aren't even. We're leading by a tiny bit because we made the first move. Once that's gone, we don't stand a chance. I promised Rika-chan that I trust her unconditionally, so even without proof, I'm ready to fight. But I can't beat this conspiracy by myself. And to gain help from the others, Tomitake has to find proof. Tomitake's in charge of our first attack. That means he's in the most danger too. It's understandable that Rika-chan kept warning him to be very careful. He should have started his investigation as early as last night. If that's the reason why they've begun observing Rika-chan, I can only pray for his safety and the success of the investigation. I heard a voice. Irie had arrived. Satoko-chan, Rika-san, I'm here to give you an examination. I heard footsteps coming up the stairs and a quiet knock. I'm alone, don't worry. We have to keep it down. This house is already under observation. I let Irie in and closed the door quickly. How are you? It must be getting hot in here since you can't open the windows, huh? I brought something for you. He handed me a plastic bag. It contained ice cream, cans of juice, some snacks, and even beer. Well, this obviously isn't for Rika-chan. I feel he's being a little careless, but I am grateful. So, how is everything? I heard a noise from the wiretapping shack earlier, and the phone rang for a long time shortly afterwards. I'm sure they found out that the girls missed school today and called to check. Has anybody asked you to come check on Rika-chan? Yes. Takano-san told me to go check since they missed school and haven't come by the clinic. I knew it. Do you think she's suspicious about their absence? No. I think it has something to do with Tomitake-san starting his investigation. Even if it doesn't, this may give him a chance to find something. Either way, it's already begun, hasn't it? Yes, more than likely. I don't know if our enemies are Takano and the Mountain Dogs, or somebody else. Either way, that somebody has started to take action. I can't help but think of the series of mysterious deaths. The first 2 years were just coincidences, but starting with the third, I think Takano-san became intrigued, and started expecting something to happen on the night of Watanagashi. Watanagashi is the day after tomorrow. It'd be the perfect opportunity for them to do something. She's aiming for Rika-chan on the 5th year running. This Takano is a frightening woman. What Rika-chan said about Takano-san, I think it's all true. I just found out today, but she was adopted by Dr. Takano, the one who discovered Hinamizawa syndrome. The same pronunciation, huh? I see. To her, continuing to research the syndrome was like a promise she made to her beloved grandfather. But as the project will be terminated, it's almost like they're spitting on his grave. That's exactly what Rika-chan said, isn't it? Yes. Also, Takano-san said something else. She compared a dying patient in a coma to a project that's going to end in 3 years. She says that family members have the right to turn off the switch of the life support machine. If the project is being terminated anyway, Mio Takano, who considers herself a member of the late Dr. Takano, should be the one to terminate it. Yes, I think that's what she meant. We're gathering the circumstantial evidence we need. Takano is, in fact, our enemy. Iria had been reluctant to accept it yesterday, but now he believes what Rika-chan said is true. We need Tomitake-san to find some proof that shows Takano-san is plotting something. Then we can call in a subjugation squad to arrest all of those involved. Takano has the mountain dogs working for her. This squad can down even them? Yes, I don't know anything about them, but there's another unit called the Bloodhounds. They're a combat unit deployed in case of a true emergency. The mountain dogs are more of an intelligence unit for covert operations, so they're likely to be far outmatched. If this subjugation squad was organized to counter the off chance of rebellion by the Secret Research Institute, then they must be quite powerful. So, you're saying our conditions for victory are summoning these bloodhounds into Hinamizawa? That would be correct. However, my one concern is that the emergency manual contains passages authorizing the massacre of the village to preserve secrecy. I'm still worried that even if the bloodhounds are brought in, they'll destroy all evidence, including the village itself, which wouldn't be any different. No, they wouldn't. If the enemy's intent is to trigger the execution of the emergency manual, that doesn't make sense. If this conspiracy is caused by faction infighting, then Iria Institute's clients will want to resolve the conflict quietly. They're sure to raid the enemies and settle everything while the villagers are still confused as to what's going on. I know this because I've done similar jobs myself. They'll pass through like a gale and complete their operation swiftly, and a unit capable of pulling that off against the mountain dogs must be very powerful. We'll just have to wait until we hear from Tomitake-san. Yes, this'll be a battle of endurance, but once it lights up, it'll become a blitzkrieg. This'll be a hard battle with rapid shifts in pace. It's reassuring to us that you're in the enemy's midst, but at the same time, you're in a very vulnerable position. Please don't let your guard down. The moment we decide to be Rika-chan's allies, we become their enemies. I understand. The phone at the house is, of course, being wiretapped, so Iria has to come over to communicate with me. But that won't work in an emergency. A telephone is still better in that case. For those instances, I've put together a memo for Iria. There's a method for communicating over a phone that's been bugged. It's something I came up with out of necessity once. What is this? A method for calling me in case of an emergency. Please make sure the enemy doesn't get a hold of it. If you're in danger, swallow it. The phone's being tapped, so how can we make a call? If you pick up the phone, even if you don't say anything, they might get suspicious. We can communicate even without me picking up the phone. There's a little trick to it, but we can at least send across what's important. And you are the only one who can do it, since you'll be the first person who notices the enemy's movements. All right. Then how do I do it? It's in the memo. Let me explain briefly. We'll use the ringtone. When you make a call, normally you won't let the phone ring over a minute. We'll use that to communicate. If the phone rings for a minute, that means it's dangerous, leave. If the phone rings for a minute and a half, that means it's an emergency, head to the Sonozaki residence. The difference is in those 30 seconds. You can look at the memo for other messages you can send. Please memorize these two at least. My life depends on it. The message that lets me know my life is in danger is the shorter call, but if it's too short, I'll get it confused with regular phone calls. That's why to signal me, he's supposed to hang up the phone within 3 seconds first, then place the emergency call. The reason why I use such a large difference of time is to make sure there's no misunderstanding. The tones the caller hears and the rings the receiver sends out are a little different. I don't want that little difference to change the message, which is why they had to be 30 seconds apart. A short ring first, and 1 minute means run. 1.5 minutes means to head to where Rika-chan is. Okay, I got it. It's a little troublesome, I know, but this is just for emergencies. Please remember it. Yes, I understand. When danger strikes, I'll handle communications. Also, one more signal I want you to remember. It's not a very good code, but please don't forget it just the same. For this one, you don't need to do one short ring. You just need to let the phone ring for over 3 minutes. It's probably best to just place the call and leave it. What does that mean? Contact in danger. Further contact impossible. So that's to tell you that I'm in danger then. Yes, in case of an emergency, call this house, leave the phone off the hook, and hide somewhere safe. Even so, it's very hard to anticipate when you yourself will be in danger. You'll lose your chance to call while you're thinking, I'm still fine, or I'm probably fine. If you sense something odd, that's an emergency. Knowing the seriousness of the conspiracy, they won't hesitate to kill us. Please be very careful. I understand. But if that happens, what are you going to do? It depends on the situation, but I'll probably leave this house. If you're in danger, then Rika-chan is in danger too. I'll head to the Sonozaki residence and join Rika-chan. But this is only in the worst case scenario. I'm not sure if it'll actually happen, so don't be nervous. Relax, okay? But also be very careful, right? That's right. Iria nodded deeply. It's almost time. Something is about to happen. Things do be getting spicy. So that's it. Does anyone have any questions? I have plenty of questions. This could easily be one of those well-planned pranks. What I heard is just that extraordinary. But right now, it's a bad idea to ask questions just out of curiosity. That would be a waste of time. Mion has already explained everything about the events surrounding Rika-chan. Well, I have a few things to ask myself, as the successor to the head of the Sonozaki family, because all of this has something to do with the series of mysterious deaths. But I won't go into that for now. All in all, it was a good idea to come to my house. You could survive a nuclear war here in our basement. There's electricity and a telephone there too. Of course, we have plenty of food too. If the mountain dogs really are that tough, then this house is the only place in the village that's safe from them. I'm sorry to have involved all of you in this. Rika-chan apologized from the bottom of her heart. Rika-chan has been dealing with this strange disease, this Hinamizawa syndrome, as well as all these suspicious Tokyo people, all by herself until today. She's been trying not to get us involved, and that's why she dealt with all of them by herself. We can all imagine what she must have been feeling, so none of us can even think of anything to say. The silence went on for a while, but then Hanyu clapped Rika-chan on the back. Rika, you've been apologizing so much since yesterday. If you apologize one more time, you'll have to treat me to a cream puff every day. Ow, ow, ow. Besides, we all feel bad, don't we? Am I wrong, Keiichi? Hanyu suddenly addressed me. I could tell from her eyes that she was expecting something from me. Right. My role is to act as the flint for the other club members. It's my job to burn strong and bright red to get everyone excited. What have I been doing just sitting around? That's right, Rika-chan. We'd never even thought all of this could be true, so we were just shocked for the moment. But we're all thinking that things are getting interesting, right guys? Satoko, this right here is the real deal. You've got some good traps lying in wait, don't you? I know you've been hiding amazing ones for special occasions like these. This is a perfect chance to try them out, don't you think?
Oh, you should be grateful for my presents. I don't know who they are, but if it's all right to get serious, then I won't hesitate to launch the countless miraculous traps I've refrained from using on our club members. That's right. Your traps come with Mii-chan's seal of approval. They can chase away even a real army.
Well, Satoko aside, you're pretty merciless yourself, Rena. You're usually so easygoing, but I know your true power. Yeah, when you get serious, you might be the most powerful of us all. You sure are something. I don't even think I could defeat you.
Oh, stop. Your explosive impact is incredible too, Keiichi-kun. Your power could defeat a fate that I'd have no chance against.
If Keiichi's a furious red flame, then Rena-san is the quiet blue one. Hey, that's a good one. The Burning Red Ranger, Keiichi Maebara. The Burning Blue Ranger, Rena Ryugu. This is our chance to show the world what we've got. We're a powerful team with a powerful leader. Right, Neon? We're already powerful individually, and when we gather, we're invincible. That's our club, right, guys? You know, I kept quiet thinking it might be imprudent, but actually I've been thinking. This is getting super interesting. I appreciate this, Rika-chan. Thank you for giving us the opportunity. How dare they even think of stepping into Hinamizawa without saying hello to us? I'll make sure to teach them some manners. It's only been 5 minutes since Rika-chan apologized to everyone and brought the mood down, yet our morale was already at its peak again. We're up against such an absurd conspiracy, but if we're together, I think we could defeat it. Keiichi's too stupid to realize a blue flame is hotter than a red one. He just got called weak. It's true. What a silly boy. This is the best feeling ever. Hanyu's the one who started all of this. She's quite the promising newcomer. She knew exactly whom among us to get motivated first. Oh no, I've lagged behind. No! I think we're back in the green, and we should have 20 minutes of no ads left if you want to refresh. No! Don't fall behind, stream. Don't do this. Oh wait, we're in the red again. Maybe? Yellow? I don't know. We'll see. No. Moreover, while even our senior members were hesitant about taking on such a huge opponent somewhere in our hearts, she alone remained unflinching and raised our spirits. She's likely to grow even more formidable in the future.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for believing me.
Of course we believe you. I told you that already. If we didn't, we wouldn't be your friends. There's no need to thank us, Rika. Yeah, she's right. Listen to Hanyu. You've got great spirit. I like you. Oh. I rubbed Hanyu's head. She laughed as if I was tickling her. Her lag be gone indeed. Okay then, let's huddle. We have to get things organized. First, Rika-chan and Satoko are supposed to be absent from school because they're sick, but in reality, they're hiding here. This is just a preventative measure. Nobody would even guess they were hiding here, thanks to a certain Akasaka.
How nice of him. He came because of the promise he made 5 years ago. That's kinda cool. Oh, I'm a little jealous. He isn't my type, but I'm a little jealous too.
Guys, he's old.
Meep. It's not like that, though.
He works for public safety at the police headquarters in Tokyo, and he belongs to a secret unit, right? That sure sounds reliable. Being part of a secret unit makes it sound even better, too. He's married and has a kid. I know, these guys. He's just a nice guy. Like, let him live his life. Akasaka is very strong. He's definitely reliable. But Akasaka-san's role is more of a protective one, in case of emergency. Tomitake-san has the more important job of finding out things about our enemy. He's our true attacker. Plus, he's the only one who can call in the Bloodhounds to take out our enemies. In other words, Tomitake-san is our key to victory. It's a bit unsettling to think that so much is riding on the hands of some dumb cameraman. Everyone teased her. By saying that they're going to tell Tomitake she called him that. It's not that I don't expect him to succeed, but I think we should come up with another tactic just in case.
But Hanyu, what else can we do other than count on Tomitake?
No, Hanyu's right. Tomitake-san is a key factor from the enemy's point of view too. If they find out he's investigating them, they might even have him killed. This is enemy territory for him too, after all. I think we should come up with something else instead of just depending on Tomitake-san.
Very true. It's hard to score with just one trap. I usually set many traps to deal with many different possibilities. That's basic trap tactics, you know. That's true. There's no need to limit ourselves to just one angle of attack. We should look into other methods besides what Tomitake-san is doing.
But we don't know anything about Tokyo, do we? Well, if one of Tomitake-san's important jobs is to summon the Bloodhounds, I'd like him to teach us how to call them. Then, even if Tomitake-san is taken out by the enemy, we can still meet our victory conditions. Yeah, that sounds about right. Tomitake-san is really important. At the same time, he's our Achilles heel. Let's talk to him and make him tell us how to contact the Bloodhounds. The problem is, he's holed up somewhere in the city and there's no way for us to get a hold of him. I think that's a great idea, though. The next time we get a chance to talk to Tomitake, let's ask him. So that's the first plan. Is there anything else? Before we knew it, Hanyu was making sure we moved along with our proceedings. Rena noticed that too, giving a pleasant smile to the girl trying to be a part of our group. This one's just insurance in case something happens to Tomitake-san. Let's think of a different angle of attack. What about something that would help his investigation?
Oh, how intriguing! We'll launch some kind of a trap, grab them by the tail, and thrust proof that they can't talk their way out of in their faces. My, what a perfect trap situation!
If I'm the one they want, why don't you use me as a decoy? It's dangerous, but Takano and the others need me, so they'll definitely fall for it.
That really is dangerous, but that would prove Takano-san is after Rika-chan.
Have them see her and make them chase her. That could lead to something interesting. And that's where Satoko's hills come in. Oh. Once they go up there, they'll be in big trouble. You said it. Boy, will that be a sight to see. This is gonna be great.
That should be the final method we use, though. Once we're barricaded in the hills, the situation will change quite a bit. This should be our last resort. She's right. The traps in the hills are great as a defense measure, but that's all they could do. They can't attack the enemy for us.
The barricade on the hill is our last resort, huh? The very final resort for when the enemy attacks this location and we have no other choice but to leave. By the way, we have an underground tunnel leading out that's connected to a well in the back. Wow, your house is amazing, Mion. Oh crap, this is really getting crazy. The enemy's a mysterious organization, we have a secret operation, a secret base, and now a secret underground tunnel. Wow. This is just the sort of thing that gets a guy excited. Oh, I'm not a guy, but I'm excited. Okay, now we have 2 ideas. We'll come up with more. Can anyone think of anything else? Oh. Let's see. We want at least one more. That last one is a rather defensive tactic, too. Isn't there something more aggressive that's perfect for our club? You know, some way to hit them real good. An awesome blow that'll set back their conspiracy. Can we pull off something like that?
Yeah, I'm sure we can. We're not as powerless as you think, Rika-chan, and it's not like we don't have cards to play. You're their ultimate objective, and you're with us. That's one crucial card on our side. And not just in the sense of using you as bait.
That's true. It's a huge disadvantage for them that we have the Queen Carrier. I mean, what's their goal? Kill Rika-chan, trigger this emergency manual to eliminate the whole village, and use that chaos in their internal faction wars, right? Yeah, to them, Rika's like the fuse on a stick of dynamite. They want to set that dynamite off, cause chaos, and use that to gain something for themselves.
So if we keep it from exploding, we win. That's going to be pretty tough. You're right. We have to continue defending her, but all they have to do is kill Rika-chan in any way. It's like a soccer game with a goal on only one side.
To denounce this unfair game for what it is and call in the Bloodhounds is the point of the Tomitake operation, right? Isn't there a goal for us, though? Where we defeat their conspiracy? There must be something. Sometimes it works to think from the opposite point of view. Oh? Oh-ho! There is one! Mion started to grin in a weird way. Here she goes. The winds are blowing stronger on her side, and she's getting into better than top form. Mion's pretty smart. She's great at analyzing situations. That's why when Rika-chan first told her everything, she immediately decided that there was no way for us to win and became depressed. However, while Mion's easily crushed, she's also able to exhibit incredible power when the wind's on her side. We created that tailwind, and now her sail is receiving the push it needed. Let me confirm this one more time, Rika-chan. That emergency manual was designed to prevent all the villagers from going insane within 48 hours of your death, right? Yes, that's its purpose. Oh? Rika has never died before, so how do they know something like that will happen within 48 hours?
She's right. Yeah, that's really strange. How could they say for sure all the villagers will go crazy within 48 hours?
Well, according to Takano, something similar apparently happened in another country. That's where they got the 48 hours from. I have no idea, though. Actually, Idia said he doesn't understand it either.
Could it be? I see. Oh, I know their weak point.
Ah, I see it too. Yeah, that's right. This is their blind spot. Eh? What are you two talking about? I don't get it.
I don't get it. I don't get it either.
Hey, Rena and Rika-chan, don't you understand? Why don't we put the last person to figure it out through a punishment, huh? How about you, Hanyu? Haven't you figured it out yet? Yes, I have. That's why Rika's important to Takano. Oh, that's a hint for you, too.
Oh, here's a hint from me as well. The enemy's intention is to cause a disaster in Hinamizawa. They intend to do so by using this emergency manual. In other words, this manual is in fact the enemy's Achilles heel.
Meep. I don't get it. Rika, if you apologize for everything you've done to me, I'll tell you. No way. Stop that ow-owing. I want to concentrate. What? Haven't you figured it out yet, Rena? Listen, our attack depends on Tomitake-san, and that's our Achilles heel. On the other hand, the enemy's attack depends on the emergency manual. So if we destroy the foundation of the emergency manual, do you see? We just have to make the emergency manual lose its function. Oh, what is the meaning of the emergency manual? It's supposed to hide the existence of the syndrome by making it look like a disaster. So that's why they have to wipe out the entire village within 48 hours. That's what the enemy intends to do, at least.
So you're saying, we just have to stop them from executing the manual within 48 hours?
But those 48 hours don't start until I'm killed, so... So I need to outrun them for those 48 hours? Meep. Hey, you two are already saying the answer. You good? Let's say the answer out loud. Everyone ready? Here we go. Rika-chan has to die 48 hours prior. We all said it in unison. Boy, we're good at this. We never mess it up.
I know. I got it.
I got it too. Rena and Rika-chan clapped their hands together. They finally figured it out. Why did it take so long for us to come up with this? Oh, we finally got it. We should have come up with this on the first try. We've been speaking only in defensive terms, so I thought you might never think of this idea. Oh, listen to you. I love you even more, Hanyu. In recognition of your achievements, I'll award you our club's Special Order Cross Medal later. Anyway, let's talk about the operation. Their goal is to execute the emergency manual. Hidden in that goal is actually a huge weak point. The foundation of the manual is the notion that the villagers will go crazy within 48 hours of the Queen Carrier's death. In other words, if nothing happens in the 48 hours after Rika-chan's death, then the foundation of this emergency manual collapses. That's it, to say the least. Nobody really wants to do such a terrifying thing, but if they don't execute the manual, the villagers might go mad and spread to the surrounding communities. They're hesitant to execute it, but they want to keep the damage to a minimum. But what if they find Rika-chan's body 48 hours after her death? The major premise that the villagers will lose their minds within 48 hours of the Queen Carrier's death will collapse. Fortunately, Rika is hiding here, so it's possible for us to lie about her death. The last time Rika-chan was seen was yesterday at school. It'll be 48 hours after that in the early morning of the day after tomorrow. It'll be perfect if her body is found around that time.
I see. It's possible to fake Rika-chan's death with the help of that Ooishi-san.
Indeed.
We'll ask Ooishi-san to send out an announcement that Rika's body has been found, and that it's been at least 48 hours since her death.
Well, it might create some issues if he announces it publicly, so we could just let the EDA Institute know. Coach is on our side, so it should be possible to deceive them.
That is... what an idea.
Once the emergency manual loses its credibility, such a horrible operation will never be approved. In other words, their weak points are the emergency manual and Rika-chan. Ooishi hasn't agreed to help us yet, but I know he will. Oh.
Oh, this'll be such an amusing trap. I could just picture Takano-san running around in a panic. Takano believes Satoko and I are sick in bed with the cold. But as she hasn't actually seen us, she's just assuming it's true. But as it turns out, we were somewhere else and suddenly my body shows up, having been dead for over 48 hours. This is going to be super thrilling!
The masterminds will have to accept the failure of the emergency manual and withdraw. That's when the hunters become the hunted. By that time, Tomitake-san will have found out something about the enemy. And he'll call in the Bloodhounds to defeat them. That's our goal. All right. I can smell our victory from here. Man, how perfect is this? This is all going to work out. I'm sure of it. We all encouraged each other with a hip hip hooray. This is definitely getting really interesting. Still, what's key is that the claim of Rika-chan's being dead for 48 hours is believable. For that, we'll need Ooishi-san's help. And right as we thought about asking him, he arrived at the Sonozaki residence. Ooishi-san knows that Rika-chan is hiding here. He also knows that some members of the Mountain Dogs have infiltrated the police station. They've even wiretapped Rika-chan's home phone. So the safest way to contact her, he figured, is in person. I saw Dr. Irie earlier. He told me to tell you that Akasaka-san is doing just fine. He's grown a lot in the past 5 years. He'll hold down the fort. Ooishi-san loosened his tie while drinking his barley tea. I bet he never thought he'd end up drinking a glass of barley tea at the home of his old enemy, the Sonozaki family. So, Ooishi, what do you think of our 48-hour operation? I think it's a pretty good idea. It'll shake them up quite a bit. In their panic, they'll make mistakes for sure, and that'll give Tomitake-san the chance to get a drop on them. No, it's really a great strategy. They say 2 heads are better than 1, but with all our young minds together, you've come up with a fantastic idea. Ooishi-san laughed in admiration and assured us that the operation would definitely make an impact. However, he hesitated a little too. This is pretty sink or swim, you know. Whether we win or lose, I'll have to take responsibility. I'll do my best to pull out the splinters, but if I don't do a good job of it, I'll end up pretty deep. I have to resign myself to that. In our 48-hour operation, Ooishi-san ends up bearing most of the responsibility. And the police are a strict organization. There's no guarantee they won't investigate. Ooishi-san is planning to retire this year. He needs his pension in order to pay off his mortgage. He's at a very delicate point in his life. While this is a big deal for Rika-chan, it's a lot to ask of Ooishi too. He has to risk throwing everything away for our sakes. Crap. This operation is a great idea, believe me. But I just can't. Ooishi, if it's too much, you don't have to accept the part. We don't want to win by using you as a sacrifice. Nobody knew what to say to him, but Hanyu broke the silence. She's full of energy ow-owing during our club, but at times like this, she also has the power to heal the hearts of those who are hesitating and growing weak. It's like being enveloped in a mysterious embrace. If her appearance matched her level of maturity, Hanyu would probably look like a mother. Besides, we're members of the most powerful club in the world. Even if the 48-hour operation can't work, we're sure to come up with another idea straight away. Right, Neon? Yeah, that's right. Ooishi, you could say no, okay? We shouldn't have gotten all excited over this without even considering your situation.
Yeah, that's true. I'm sorry, Ooishi-san.
Reno whispered to me while watching them talk.
Hanyu-chan is good at this. Who could say no when a cute little girl says stuff like that to them?
Eh? What? Do you mean... is that what Hanyu's trying to do?
Meep. She's even more sly than I am.
As Ooishi-san moaned and groaned, Hanyu looked over and grinned wickedly at us. I take it back. This girl, she really is sly. Hanyu's more dangerous than I thought. Next time we do a club activity, I'll really have to watch out. Please let me sleep on it. There's someone at the station I really trust, so I think I'll discuss it with him. Don't worry, he wouldn't rat me out. If I agree to do this, I can't make any mistakes. So before I do, please let me think over the chance of success. Ooishi-san never makes promises unless he's sure he can keep them. That's why he speaks cautiously, but considering his position, it was certainly a decision that required courage. Don't worry, Ooishi. Even if you lose your pension, Mion will take care of it. Won't you? Oh.
Meep. If he's going to help us, we have to do that for Ooishi. Meep.
Huh? Well, you know, despite how this old man looks, my family is pretty rich. We've got 2 sly foxes. Our club's gonna be the epitome of a free-for-all in the future. The meeting ends with that. We'll find out if we can go ahead with the 48-hour operation or not by tomorrow, depending on Ooishi-san's answer. We haven't heard from Tomitake-san yet, but I'm sure he started his investigation on Takano-san. The coach and Akasaka-san have to wait patiently, each surrounded by the enemy. They're both in very dangerous positions, so I'll just have to pray for their safety. And then there's Takano-san. I'm still having a hard time believing she's involved in such a vast conspiracy. If someone told me that the whole thing was a lie, I might even believe them. That's why I want Tomitake-san to investigate. She's mysterious and a bit cold, but she could be fun to be around too. Also, I've always thought of her as one of the villagers. It hurts more than a little to suspect one of your own. I can understand what Tomitake-san is going through. This doesn't have to be an investigation to confirm her guilt. Instead, I want him to prove that she's not guilty. It's too painful for people to doubt one another. Hello? Sorry for making you call me so often, First Lieutenant Tomitake? That's okay. Anyway, did you find out anything? A background investigation usually takes a few months. It can't be rushed within a day or two. But Tomitake sensed that something huge had started to make its move after what Rika and the others told him. And it was definitely getting closer. But once it was close enough to see, it would be too late. That was why he was checking on their progress so frequently. We're still investigating Major Takano as we speak. When she took a position in the Alphabet Project, her background was already investigated by a different department, so we requested those documents to be handed over. The entire team is investigating what she's been doing since the time she joined the project. Please give us a little longer. I understand. However, the situation is urgent, so please work as quickly as you can. Yes, of course. By the way, we got an emergency order to investigate the EDA Institute today, unrelated to your request. It's our top priority now. The Chief of Staff requested it. The Chief of Staff? And it isn't related to my request? Yes. Well, it's supposed to be a separate matter, but from what I can see, I think it's a powerful boost from the top towards your investigation. The Chief of Staff is helping out. What does this mean? The only thing I can assume is that the top members of the JGSDF have realized the danger of the conspiracy surrounding the EDA Institute. Like Rika-chan said, if this conspiracy's intent is to execute the emergency manual, then the opposing camp will try to stop that from happening. My request for an investigation is the first step in putting a stop to their plans. So if the masterminds were influencing the Chief of Staff, he'd probably try to shut my investigation down. But he's supporting it instead, which probably means that the Chief of Staff isn't my enemy. In fact, he might belong to the opposing camp. No, it's hard to say if he belongs to them or not. He might just be under order from the ones pulling the strings for the opposing camp. If that's true, then the enemy has already noticed something, and it's possible that they'll start exerting pressure soon enough. So how much can I find out before that happens? I don't know much about the top brass. Still, for the Chief of Staff to get involved. Putting aside if Takano-san is guilty or not, I'm certain that something extremely big is starting to happen around the EDA Institute. We're making progress on investigating the Institute. We haven't analyzed the data yet, but some of the financial records are suspicious. We don't know if it's just simple paperwork mistake, or if someone is actually trying to juggle funding, but I'll have an expert look into it. What do you mean by suspicious? Well, as you know, there's an account for the funds supplied to the EDA Institute, but the numbers don't match up. It's possible that there are inflows or outflows of money that haven't been recorded. Besides that, there are questionable dates on some receipts. We're suspecting forgery. Funds are usually supplied annually. For example, if a budget of 1 million yen is approved, 1 million is supplied in April and the facility manages those funds so they can keep things running for 1 year. So depending on how they use the money, it's possible to have some left over at the end of the year. If they only use 900,000 yen, they will have 100,000 left. Then for the following year, they'll be told that they only needed 900,000 yen. 900,000 should be enough. Furthermore, there should be 100,000 yen left over, so they should only need 800,000 the following year. Therefore, they can then only get 800,000 yen when April comes around, which is 200,000 yen less than the previous year. As some of you have already noticed, the more leftover money you have, the fewer funds you receive the next year. Therefore, it's smart to use up your entire budget. But some people try to get by until the end of the year, and if there's 100,000 yen left, they try to make it look as though they've used up the money, when it is in fact in a safe somewhere. They report that they've used exactly 1 million yen, and they get another 1 million for the following year. Yet there's still 100,000 yen sitting in a safe. This 100,000 yen is called a pooled fund or a slush fund. If they keep running with only 900,000 yen per year, then 100,000 will be added to the slush fund in the safe annually. And only a handful of people will know about the money. This is how public funds get embezzled or turned into private money. As we previously mentioned, the Alphabet Project is using this exact trick, and certain masterminds are pulling in huge amounts of public funding. To avoid this kind of situation, there's an audit of accounts performed every year, and oversight to ensure no one's fattening their pockets or creating slush funds. By the way, it's said that the reason why civil engineering projects tend to start up at the end of the year is so that they won't have that 100,000 yen left, but that's not relevant right now. The point is that they have to work hard to get the funds they want. Well, that's an example of having some money left over, which is certainly not bad. However, it can also be possible that there isn't enough money. After all, they're only granted 1 year's worth of funds, so they can't delve into a savings account like we do in our lives. That excess money just doesn't exist. Slush fund sounds like slushy funds. I know, that's what I'm thinking too. Therefore, an estimate report should never show more expenditure than revenue. If that happens, that means there's some extra money other than what is supplied. That's how slush funds are discovered. Tomitake was told that it was still under investigation, but the EDA Institute's suspicious financial records could be either case. The former would be fine. It's quite common after all. But if it was the latter, there could be something quite nasty lying beneath the surface. In other words, it was quite possible that funding was coming into the EDA Institute from somewhere other than the formal sponsors. To be more exact, there was a chance that someone was interfering with the EDA Institute by supplying funds. Tomitake was having his men look into the possibility of Takano and the Mountain Dogs rebelling against Tokyo. While it was certainly possible for Takano to do so because of her personal investment in their research project, it was hard to believe that the Mountain Dogs could betray their employers out of sympathy. For the dogs to take part in Takano's conspiracy, a huge amount of money would have to be involved, and the discrepancy that Tomitake's men had identified could be a sign of such. Hello? Sorry, I just received a report. You know Koizumi-sensei, don't you? The head of the old Koizumi faction? He passed away recently, which led to the faction breaking up. Do you know anything about a personal relationship between him and Major Takano? Yes, I've heard about that. But did you know that Koizumi-sensei and the late Dr. Takano had a personal relationship? No, I see. Now I know why Koizumi-sensei doted over Major Takano. This is very interesting. As a matter of fact, after Koizumi-sensei's death, his private accounts were liquidated, and they found some withdrawals made by Koizumi-sensei himself, instead of the attorney who took care of his finances. It happened about half a year before the EDA Institute's establishment was approved by the Alphabet Project. Didn't Koizumi-sensei use the money to make necessary arrangements beforehand in order to establish the institute? No, his attorney took care of the money for that, so the withdrawal wasn't made for that purpose. It must have been a very personal expenditure, considering that he bypassed his trusted attorney. So could that involve the relationship between Koizumi-sensei and Takano-san? Does that mean Koizumi-sensei supplied funds to Major Takano personally? Yes, that's what we think, and we're trying to corroborate that as we speak. We think Koizumi-sensei gave money to Major Takano for purposes other than the necessary arrangements for establishing the institute. So you're saying it's possible that Major Takano has a huge amount of cash at her disposal to help instigate a revolt. To establish the institute, Major Takano adjusted things with various organizations, but she did all that through legitimate means. So if she didn't use any of her personal supply for that, she should still have the whole amount at her disposal. I'm sorry, but what is that amount? 1 billion yen. What? I'm very close to Takano-san, but I had no idea she was so rich. Actually, she's rather tight with her money. She never acted as if she had 1 billion yen just sitting around. But then, that money isn't just money to her. It's a form of support from her dear grandfather's friend. So she'd have to save it for when she needed it the most. If the new board of directors had even a little interest in her research, she would have used the money on them, but they simply laughed at her. So Takano-san gave up on bribing them. Instead, she decided to use it now, because her research project was going to be terminated anyway. With 1 billion yen, it might be possible to bribe the mountain dogs. If she had sponsors, it'd be even easier. Her grandfather couldn't complete his life's work, but she's planning a magnificent conclusion for it. Crap. Those can't be her true intentions. Someone has to be deceiving her. Takano-san, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't notice your sorrow even though I've been right beside you. But, like, why are they feeling bad? Yeah, she's been through stuff, but she's about to do something really bad, guys. I think we should stop her. Okay, but I think we're gonna pause Higurashi here for today, because my throat condition is, making it a little difficult to read. She's also evil, I know, right? We are going to draw, because I need to draw. I did not draw at all yesterday. I am behind.